storing more fat, I'm gaining a whole bunch more fat, I'm still almost on the program, why am I gaining so much fat? And so again, your body compensating. So many times that person gains all the way back and kind of rebounds and often gains a little bit more before it settles out. Right now, I'll mention this in case I don't get to it. It's very hard to find any information on this that I've ever come across. Probably no one ever wants to say it, and I don't know that there are very many studies on it, but we all have a body right now that it's probably been kind of like this for a while. So we have this thing called homeostasis. Your body wants to stay where it is, and we can make little changes like lose weight or gain weight or whatever, but the body kind of just wants to go back to where it's been for a while. And the only time I ever read anything, and this was a long time ago, and I think I'm pretty accurate, but it was about 9 months. So so you should be thinking, okay, so if I'm going to get all this healthy stuff, I'm going to lose weight, and exercise properly, and do all this stuff properly, and I'm going to lose weight, who's to say that I'm not going to gain it back? And so what we want to do is understand hormonally what we're trying to achieve. We want to do all the right things, and then we want to keep, and here's the thing, and I could be lying to you because it was hard to come across it seriously, but this is what I believe to be true. And I read it one place. If we maintain a weight for about 9 months, and that's the thing I read, then our body kind of believes that is now our homeostasis. That is our level, that's where it's going to be. So a person loses weight in 1 month or 2 months, and they gain it all back. I would tell you that probably the most challenging part of all fat loss is getting to an ideal weight and then staying there. And so what I'm trying to give you are tools and tactics to do that, to do exactly that. Because what a big waste of time I am, taking yours. If everybody loses a bunch of weight and then you gain it all back. I mean, like, you guys should fire me. And everybody else that has programs like that. So what we want to do is get an ideal weight, keep it for the rest of our lives, and have the knowledge to do that. So it is my belief that we need to stay at a level for an extended period of time, and that's the big challenge. An extended period of time until our body now believes that is homeostasis. And then if you make another jump, you're going to have to do the same thing, kind of like that in stages. That seems kind of logical, does it not? So if we have been a certain way for a long time, then your body just kind of wants to stay there. If people lose a whole bunch of weight in a short time, it all comes back. People lose weight slowly over a longer period of time, they keep it up. So it's kind of like that. I don't think that's a big surprise to anyone, but you can't find anyone willing to say this is the way that is. Any questions? So we are going to take the model, eat more, exercise more. So we can have, for example, so that model where we're going to eat less, exercise more, we know that doesn't work. We have metabolic compensation, our body fights back. We could have, let's see, the two bad ones. We could eat more and exercise less. That'd be bad, because now we're just going to gain weight like crazy. And then the other two models are totally viable. So what you might think is kind of like the European model, where a person would eat less and exercise less. So in America, we have this thing where we exercise, we work out. And in many places in Europe, where maybe the majority of the population doesn't do that, they'll ride bikes and they'll walk to the market and do stuff like that, but it's usually not the same intensity level. And so if you go to France and you walk down the street, most people are what we would consider a normal weight or an ideal weight. They don't eat near as much and they don't exercise as much. So the other model that works is eat more, exercise more. And that is the athletic model. And we know that works because there's stunningly awesome athletes out there who do exactly that. And so there's a lot of advantages to the exercise aspect because we are a healthier person, we have more muscle mass. You can just take muscle And there's like a giant list of wonderful things it does for your body, just simply having it. So we want that. That's how we want to live and want to be. And it makes us healthier. There's a million studies, blah, blah, blah. So for us, the eat more, exercise more model is what we want. And we want, as athletes, to eat food. So we're not going to diet. What we're going to do is eat quality food, or the foods that we know are best going to sustain us and balance our hormones. So there's a very, very common example. A chicken breast and a donut both have, about 250 calories. So pretty obviously, we know what the healthier food is. There's not a giant big surprise there. And so by having the quality of food versus the type of food, it's going to make a big difference for us. And so overall, that's what we're trying to accomplish. Any questions? Hunger, energy, and cravings are how we determine how we're doing. So even if you're starting the Whole30 and you are ravenously hungry, so you're eating really healthy foods and you're ravenously hungry, that tells us that our hunger, energy, and cravings, so you're going to hear it all the time, is your heck in check. So your hunger, energy, and cravings, we want to balance that. So you start off with the Whole30 and you've got all this healthy food and you have a volume of food that seems appropriate, and you do that for a couple of days and you're just super hungry. Well, we know that that is good quality food. It's exactly what we want. You have protein with every meal, lots of fibrous carbs, meaning vegetables and fruit, and we're doing all the right things, but we're a little bit hungry. Add more protein, add more fibrous carbs. You can literally, I hate to say it out loud, but you can, a person can eat a lot of lean protein and a lot of fibrous carbs, lots of it, and not gain weight if it's just those two things. And that's what we as humans, pretty much ate for 2 million years. So that's all good. We can do that. It's easy to balance. So we're a little bit hungry, add a little bit more. As we're into this, you're going to see that it's going to be measured in bites. So on your plate, you think, well, I'm super hungry, and on this burner, I'm going to add 5 bites of carbohydrates. And then you do that for a day or two and see how that goes. And it might seem complicated at first, but it's really simple. You guys will handle this just fine. You'll understand what you're going to do for your burner type. You're going to understand what foods you're looking for. You're going to understand how many bites to have. It's really, really simple. And anything in the beginning is complicated, but trust me, you're going to be fine. So the way we monitor ourselves constantly is our health. So basically that's going to demonstrate whether we have hormonal balance or not. And in general, so our hunger and cravings, if we had a scale of 1 to 10, we want that to be 5 or less. If you spend all day thinking about popcorn or something, then I'm going to say that's like a 9 or a 10, and it's out of balance, right? And so something's wrong, and we're going to have strategies. Trust me, we'll get to it. We're going to have strategies to deal with. What's the appropriate thing to bring that in balance? Okay, if you're really, really hungry, we can do stuff like that. So energy, we want that to be 6 and above. So we're just going to use a scale of 1 to 10 and see how we feel, where we're at, day to day. Day to day. And so yesterday, man, I was really hungry. Today I'm going to add 3 more bites of carbs. Or I'm going to have more protein. Or whatever it is. And you're going to just monitor that and see how you feel. And the next day maybe that was perfect and you're fine and you're great. Also, keep in mind that there's like healing time necessary. So when a person does the Whole30 for 30 days, it is absolutely shocking how wonderful people feel after the 30 days. It's just shocking. So we need time to kind of heal and get settled down. And you probably won't notice too many crazy things, except in the first 3 or 4 days of the Whole30, where your body's going, what the hell? And where's all that sugar I'm used to, and all that kind of thing. So there'll be a little adaptation because we most of us are addicted to sugar, and everybody knows about sugar, right? And hits the pleasure centers and all that kind of stuff. So when we take sugar out, then it's a little bit of a shock to the system. So that's how we monitor it. There's going to be more detail there. I want to skip through that. You guys are going to read all of this. Energy has a lot to do with our sugar balance. And generally, if we're eating lots of protein, fibers, carbs, it all works itself out. Having too much sugar is a big cause of all kinds of problems. It's really simple, just don't eat it. There is such a thing as a glycemic index. So table sugar has a glycemic index of 100, and I like just giving that number. And then we could take a food like a sweet potato, which has a lower glycemic index. I don't know what it is exactly, but we also have a glycemic load. So I could have a food that was low glycemic, so low sugar, but if I ate a whole bunch of it, I created volume, so I created a high glycemic load, and that can have the same effect on my blood sugar. So just because it's a low glycemic food doesn't mean we get to eat 3 plates of it, because overall that will still be a lot of sugar. That's obvious, right? Cravings, that can, for a lot of people, hormonally, that can be a big thing to be finding the balance. Surprisingly, stress has a lot to do with our cravings and sleep and sleep quality. Sleep is a very big deal. I probably should talk about that right now a little bit. So as some of you know, I've been asking people how much sleep they get in classes, just kind of checking it out. You've probably seen shows, whatever, you've heard, you've read. So here it says we should be sleeping 8 to 10 hours a night. And I've always been told that we should sleep 8 to 10 hours a night as adults. And just because we're in a modern society, our bodies didn't suddenly need less sleep. We're still the same humans we were before, and we as a society do not get enough sleep. Not getting enough sleep really, really has a detrimental effect, and it affects a lot of stuff. Obviously, it's going to affect your energy level throughout the day. I'm sure everyone knows that when you don't get enough sleep, it affects your Ghrelin hormone, which makes you more hungry throughout the day. If you've ever had a day where you just didn't get enough sleep and you're just kind of like more hungry throughout the day, that's why. And then the person, so remember we talked about the hormones and the brain chemicals, it really makes us have more cravings. So if you don't get enough sleep, it is actually like a really big problem. It's a societal problem that we have. I'm hoping that you guys will all make an effort to try to improve your sleep. And we can talk about it a little bit, but it really just comes down to us saying, I am going to get more sleep tonight and tomorrow and the next night. And we all have habits, and we all have things in our lives that, well, I always do this, and I do that, and then I can't change that, or my kid this, and whatever. So we have those things, but if someone's going to give you $10 million tomorrow, you could get 10 hours sleep tonight. Could do it. You guys would be all running home right now, doing whatever you could to make yourselves tired, hoping to wake up 10 hours later with $10 million. I mean, you would all find a way to do it. So what we need to do is value our sleep more. I can tell you that my entire life, I have not valued my sleep until more recently. I just thought, I'm tough, I can handle it. You sure can get a lot done when you only sleep 4 hours. Boy, this is cool, I'm superhuman. Right until the point where you get really sick. And we just can't do it as humans. We can do it for a while, and it always is going to affect us. And we will just plain be healthier and happier and make better decisions and be better parents and be better at work and be better in a relationship if we get more sleep. I'm not going to say any names or whatever. There was this little incident recently where someone said, work out today and sleep tonight. That's all I got to say. Okay, so something got to the point where it was out of control and someone needed to sleep. And it really affects a lot of things. Lives, relationships, jobs, health. It's a big deal. If you try to get even a little bit more sleep, it can make a huge difference. When I was just kind of like quickly polling people, there was a lot of people that did not get, some people got really great, 7.5, 8 hours sleep, and lots of people didn't. Some people think, well, I'm good on 6, I'm good, I've always been 6, I can do 6. You're not good on 6. There's always, people, we've all met people who, oh, I only need 4 hours sleep, 4.5 hours sleep, not 4, but 4.5. I only need 4.5 hours sleep. Wrong. You are motivated to do something so much that when your sleep cycle, peaks, as though we have those peaks and valleys in the sleep cycle, when you're in your lightest sleep, something's going on. You're fired up for the next day or whatever, something's going on, you got a million things on your mind, or you got to repeat or whatever, and then boom, you wake up, and then you think, I got to do this, boom, and you wake up, and you think you only need that much sleep. It's just absolutely not the case. So if I ask all of you, who every morning wakes up and feels absolutely awesome every single morning? I was almost going to say, that shit doesn't happen. Okay, it just doesn't happen. In our lives, it just doesn't happen. How many people wake up and go, oh God, this is going to be a tough one. And it's just like, and then you start thinking about all the things you got to do. And that's what we do in our society. It's expected in our jobs and family, whatever. We give sleep away. Sleep is the first thing that we give away. Think about it. You have your kids, your job, or whatever. It is the first thing. I'll be okay. Okay, so I hope that you'll think about that. I hope that you'll try to make some improvements in your sleep. Sometimes it can be a little thing. So we have sleep cycles. 1.5, 3 hours, 4.5, 6 hours, 7.5, 9 hours. So why do they say we need 8 hours sleep? Because the average person takes something like 20 minutes to fall asleep, 10 minutes to wake up, they got 7.5 hours. Okay, so there's 7.5 hours of sleep, and the other part didn't count. Okay, so the sleep cycle is 9 hours or whatever. So we want to get, like if you wake up at 6 hours, everyone's a little bit different, but if you wake up at 6 hours, you might not feel too bad. If your leg's not horrible, you're not beat up terribly and whatever. But wake up at 6 and not so bad. If you wake up at 6:45, you're like the alarm's going off and you don't even know, you can't even identify the sound. Okay, well what the hell is that? Oh yeah, that's the alarm that I've heard for my entire life. Okay, so you're in the middle of your sleep cycle, your day is going to suck. Okay, because you woke up in the middle of your sleep cycle. So one of the things that you can do is at least try to time your sleep. So you can't promise that you're going to fall asleep in a certain amount of time. But if you try to get on those sleep cycles, it can make a big difference. And there's a big difference between 6 hours and 7.5 hours. We really should be trying to stretch it out to the 7.5. We really should. And then, so what if, well, I can't sleep more than this. I wake up or whatever. So many people woke up during the night, 2 or 3 times, 1 time. And so if we're not, okay, so say we got the 7.5, 8 hours, but we were awake twice. Okay, none of that counts now. Because you got like 1.5 and 3, whatever. Now you're screwed again. You're not close to those cycles. So we need to do stuff to give us better sleep. If your bed hurts your back, go spend money, get a new one. If something's waking you up unnecessarily, then people say, oh yeah, I had to let the dog out. Kick that sucker outside, tie him up outside, whatever, it's a dog. Okay, if your kid wakes you up, okay, then maybe you gotta get up, the kid's got a bad, nightmare and you gotta get up with the kid, whatever. But you need to do stuff the quality of your sleep is important. It is important. It is more important than a lot of little things that we give away. Make sense? It's a big deal. And hormonally, as you go through this program, that is when our hormones reset. That is when we recover from exercise. That's when a whole bunch of things happen. I've read that old people don't die from old age. They die from lack of sleep. When you get to a certain point that you have so much pain or so many problems or whatever, that the sleep is going away, we literally die from lack of sleep. If we were to keep you guys awake for, I don't know, what is it, something like 6 days, you can't go beyond, of absolutely no sleep, you just plain die. Your body cannot do it. So we're supposed to reset, we're supposed to recover, there's a bunch of stuff we're supposed to do when we sleep. It's a big deal. Okay, I'm just going to stop now because I was like, yeah, I've had enough of that shit. I'm not changing. These things are, it's a big deal, guys. Okay, so, kind of moving on here. Any questions? So we've got some diagrams here. You guys can read that. Keep back in check. So there's some basically formulas for what to do. If I feel this way and I'm not getting the results I want in this situation, then I should add more protein and fibrous carbs. So fiber and water. If that doesn't work, then I'm going to add a little bit of fat. And if that doesn't work, so you guys can read that. It's very, very self-explanatory. It's very simple. And we're going to find out where you are in this whole realm here. So, of course you're going to go home and read that because it's going to be super interesting to you and you can't wait. But you're not going to read it tonight. You're going to read it tomorrow when you should be working. Okay, so the next one is the metabolic questionnaire. I want you to go through that. This is super important. You're going to go through this tomorrow or whenever, and it's going to help to identify what kind of metabolic burner you are. And you're going to see that, if you're under a certain score, you're a sugar burner, mixed burner, muscle burner. And these are broad metabolic types because remember there could be like 14,000 million of them. Everyone's a little slightly different, but these are identifiable metabolic types that we can identify, and then we can use certain strategies to stay within our little realm, because there's a big difference between a sugar burner metabolism and a muscle burner metabolism. We're all different. We have to find out what works for us. Remember that we'll all lose weight if we all have a calorie deficit and we exercise a lot. A lot of times when people do a weight loss program, they can lose up to 20 to 50% of their muscle because their body is doing what it has to do to survive. And then after you determine that which burner type you are, then you can go through and read all about yourself. So there's a whole bunch of information on the sugar burner, the mixed burner, and the muscle burner. And some of you may have aha moments where you go, oh my God, how did you know? And then it also might be that, I don't know, I'm not sure that this describes me. And there's some examples in there, it doesn't have to be exactly that person, but you will probably see some similarities. And then having done that, you are then going to go to the sugar and stress questionnaire and answer those questions. And by determining, that number, you'll see that it might bump you to the next burner type. So if you have, blood sugar issues or, massive stress issues or whatever, then you'll see on the scoring the blood sugar and stress assessments that it might bump you up into a different burner type. So when we identify our burner types, then we can more accurately use the right foods, the right amounts, the right times, and we can more accurately balance our particular personal hormones, because everyone is different. Everyone has different body types. I'm sure you've gone through life and you've noticed that. So that will help us to determine where we are, and then we're basically off and running. When you when we are starting with our Whole30 diet or food choices, it's going to resolve a lot of problems right away because we're just going to have lean proteins, lots of vegetables and fruit, no grains, no dairy, none of that stuff. It's going to get us on the right track. But having looked at your burner type, then you're going to know possibly how many meals per day you should have, or meals and snacks or different times, and that kind of thing. And so you're going to do a little detective work, and that's kind of like the operative word for all of this, is to become your own detective. You're going to try to determine where you lie and what works best for you. Over this next 10 weeks, you'll have ample opportunity to basically narrow it down, kind of experiment on yourself and narrow it down and just see where you operate the best. If you're a person that doesn't get more than 3 hours sleep a night, you're going to have to realize that it's going to be harder to balance your hormones. It's just going to be harder because you're not getting reset, you're not recovering, it's just going to be harder. So you're going to have to take that into account. But we can still be working on our cravings and hunger and energy, with the tactics that we have to help us up there. The whole menopause thing we're going to leave for later. There can be tactics that can help some of us sleep better. One of the things that I find really interesting and that I personally didn't know, let's say you're a person with a fast metabolism, or you're really hormonally out of balance, or you have sugar issues. When our blood sugar goes low, our body increases hormones, cortisol, and one other I can't think of, which are stress hormones, which raise our blood sugar level up, kind of like artificially raise our blood sugar level up. And so it's interesting to me that some people wake up, like if we go to bed at 10, they wake up at midnight, almost like every night. And so it's really interesting to me why that happens. And it may well be that their diet was such that their blood sugar went low, and especially if they're highly stressed in the job, they didn't have sleep, and their blood sugar went low, and the stress hormones brought their blood sugar level up. If that's near a sleep cycle, then they're going to wake up. And so that could be resolved by possibly having more carbohydrates in the evening meal, or for some people, having more protein and fat a little bit closer to bedtime. So it moderates their blood sugar level, and they don't have that, that hormonal blood sugar rise. Most people would agree that they would much rather sleep right through the night and wake up feeling awesome. No one loves to get up in the morning and know that they're going to struggle through the day. Nobody likes that. And so there's a lot of things that we can do to fix that. But as time goes on, we'll experiment with that. The Whole30 will fix a lot of things. A lot of times when people start the Whole30, they tell me that they just sleep better. They start CrossFit, they sleep better. I didn't talk about exercise too much. You guys are already in exercise. New people coming in later, that'll be a whole other piece for them. CrossFit is very, very effective exercise. You guys know that we come here to get in better shape. You build muscle, you lose some fat, all that kind of stuff. High intensity, short duration exercise is extremely valuable for us. Long duration, moderate intensity exercise has some adverse effects for us hormonally and physically, and it's really not too advantageous for us. So pretty much everyone in the exercise physiology world will agree that short and high intensity exercise is going to be the best. And I believe it's absolutely the best. That works what humans are supposed to do. You guys have probably gotten fantastic results from CrossFit and saw a lot of strength increases, things like that. So we don't have to talk about too much. That's exactly what we need to do. Wherever you're at right now, if you're a brand new person coming in, then you know how we kind of ease into CrossFit and we kind of take it easy, then we would need to do that. You're all in CrossFit, whether you come 3 times a week, 4 times a week, 5 times a week,